Hi everybody, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel, Hallmark Plus More, where we watch and talk about shows, movies, mysteries, Hallmark ornaments, and anything else that floats our boat. So today I'm going to review Matlock Season 1, Episode 7. So before we get into the review, I always like to say thank you to everybody who subscribes and watches my videos. It means more to me than you know, so thank you so much. So I just want to get into a review of this most recent Matlock episode. It starts with a farmer case with Brexa, with Julian, which of course Matlock has desperately been wanting to do. So this is her first case basically with Pharma. So it's going to be interesting there because I know it's going to be personal for her because this is the same company that she's blaming that killed her daughter with the opioids that could have been off the market 10 years prior, the backstory for her. So it was a little, at the beginning, Matlock was a little nervous, and then you saw Shay, which is a human lie detector in the office, so that always throws her for a loop, right? That's just a little side story. It doesn't affect Matlock. None of her secrets came out. But the case was about a college girl named Jessie. She went on a trial for this drug, and the person in charge was Dr. Blackwell. She reported her symptoms to to him, Dr. Blackwell, and according to Jessie, he didn't do anything about her symptoms, and they got worse. She actually, her hands are a little shaky. She has shaky hands, and she has no kidney. So she's blaming all of this on this drug trial that she was in. Her dreams was to be a celloist, and obviously she's saying her hands are shaking. She can't actually fulfill that dream of being that musician. So she's basically like suing them, saying, hey, I had symptoms. I told the person in charge, Dr. Blackwell, and he didn't do anything about my symptoms. And of course, Jackson Moore is defending Brexa, the big farm company, saying, you never reported your symptoms. Dr. Blackwell has no record of it. You're just blaming us because you want money, basically. And, they offered her $50,000. Matlock is sitting in on it. And you don't know if she's going to accept the offer, and then all of a sudden Jessie takes out her phone and starts making this video and filming their faces. Matlock was quickly putting a folder up her face, but she called her the Grandma Death. And that obviously set her back because Matlock thought she was kind of on her side and going to take the settlement. So then Julian's like, go to her house. You're relatable. She's going to relate to you. See if you can get more money out of her. So they do. She goes to her house, Matlock, to try to say, look, you've got all your followers watching this story. Instead of $50,000, how about we give you $250,000? You'll just sign an order, And Matlock thinks she's got her on board because Matlock is great with people. So she leaves the house, Jessie's house, thinking, okay, we got this. Like Julian said, my cap was $250. I got her on $250. We're good. And then after, she sends another video and she's like, hey, this old lady came to my house trying to offer up another $250. I'm not taking the deal. And my lawyer here is taking on the other participants in this drug trial, and we're going to sue you as a whole. So obviously Julian and, the drug company, Brexa, is very upset because now there's a second video coming out. So obviously the first thing they do is, big companies, let's do the gag order. We have to get the gag order. We can't let any other videos come out that, damage our image. So that's always the first thought, like gag order, don't let them make any more videos, which they do. They get the gag order. But Matlock is trying to figure out, why did the girl change her mind? Like, I had her. Like, I went to the house. We talked it out. She was going to agree to the money. And then all of a sudden, boom, she's making this video and bashing me, as a grandmother of death again. So Julian kind of lashes out at Matlock. And Matlock was like, it just doesn't make sense. What changed between I left her house, and she's making this another video. So Obviously, Senior, the main partner of the firm, is upset too, and basically says to the CEO of Wellbraxa, because now he's down, saying, hey, I've seen these videos, you're hurting my image, what's going on? So usually when a person of power is upset, they always want to let a head roll, so to speak. Somebody's going to be taking the fall for this. Somebody's getting fired, right? So what Senior does is, I'm so sorry to the CEO. What's going to be consequences? I'm taking Julian and Matlock off the Wellbraxa team. They're no longer going to be able to represent you. I'll put another lawyer on it. And that kind of please the CEO, because like I said, when stuff like this happens, they want somebody to lose their jobs. They want somebody to blame. So Senior basically cut his son and Maxwell out, which was a little rude. I mean, you see even later, Olympia goes up to Senior and was like, look, you didn't have to handle it that way. This is your son. You know what I mean? And I love that Olympia and Julian got back together. I love them as a couple. He's so good to her. So I kind of liked that they were back. And I love that Matlock picked up on it right away. Yeah, I know you guys are back together. Like, she's just so good at being a people's person and about seeing, what other people don't see. She's very intuitive. So I loved that Matlock already knew they were back together. And then Olympia stood up for him. Like, hey, you shouldn't have took him off the case. That was a terrible thing to do, to lash out. He's your son. So I like that Olympia stood up for Julian, because you see in so many of the previous episodes, Julian stands up for Olympia. Put up her own money, put up his own money to help her on one of her old cases and bring in Shay, the human lie detector, to help. So definitely like that they kind of go to bat with each other, and I like that they're getting back together. But you find out later, you kind of know, kind of like Matlock, like what changed her mind. And that's that mystery aspect that's going through my head, that puzzle. And you find out. She investigates the video that she went viral with. And you see something in her glasses. She's able to research and find out that Dr. Blackwell, his ex-girlfriend, who he was with for several years, they lived together, also does the stats, and found out, Jessie and her lawyer, Paige, found out that the ex-girlfriend was kind of texting Dr. Blackwell about her symptoms. So that proves that Dr. Blackwell purposely did not report her symptoms because they wanted this drug to go through and get approved by the FDA. So that kind of proves their case. So that's kind of why, the CEO was so angry, not just because of the video, but that when they went in, and interviewed the lawyer again, she basically laid out all the evidence there. I have proof, Dr. Blackwell. And so that's why they were so mad. They're going to lose now. So that's why they let go of Matlock and Jillian, or took them off the team, so to speak. So Matlock's way of winning the case, she was able to kind of find a common law loophole, since they were boyfriend and girlfriend for so long and they were living together. That was kind of that spouse confidentiality thing. They had this common law marriage loophole, and said since they were together for so long, the text back and forth proving that Dr. Blackwell is telling his ex-girlfriend or girlfriend at the time, like, hey, these symptoms, does this affect my drug trial? So basically, since Matlock found that, she went to the judge and they presented that, and they were able to throw out the texts. So Matlock was kind of in a little conflict mentally, like, hey, do I go in there and prove my case and get back on Wellbraxa and, stay face with Senior? I'm going to destroy this girl's life, though, because my evidence is going to destroy their case. We offered you $50,000, you didn't take it. We offered you $250,000, and then you countersued with this information about the ex. And Matlock just proved that that wasn't submissible in court because of that common law loophole. So Matlock feels bad because basically this woman was taking this drug and it affected her. No kidney, hands are shaking, can't really play the cello. So her musical career is over. And she basically, this drug did destroy this woman's livelihood for the future. And Matlock is very conflicted because she doesn't want to, basically not give any money to her, because if she proves this, then she's back in good graces with the firm, which is the main reason why she got there, was to be on this Wellbrexa team. So very conflicted. In the end, obviously, like I mentioned, Matlock does give it to Julian. They go to the judge, and the girl's crying because now she has no settlement. She walks away with nothing. So even at the end, Matlock says to Senior and the people from Wellbrexa, well, he comes back and says, well, now she wants the original $50,000, and they were laughing it off. And Matlock was like, well, can't we at least give her the $50,000 originally that we were going to offer her? And they just laughed it off. We'll give her a makeup gift card. And, and that infuriated Matlock. Like, hey, this woman is now going to have nothing. And she actually breaks a necklace, a homemade necklace that her daughter gave her that says Mama on it. So I think that kind of rubbed Matlock the wrong way. And, so the case was a sad case. To me, it was hard. Like I said, Matlock had that conflict. It's so disheartening. I mean, this young college student, she takes this drug, and then now she doesn't have a future in what her dream was. Her dream was to be a cellist. Obviously, she's only 23. She has the rest of her life to live. She can find another dream. But that's not the point. The point is what she wanted to go after, she can no longer go after because of this drug company. So for that, I feel for her, to see her cry, and for the lawyer to basically realize, like, we got nothing now, is very heartbreaking, because I feel like they need to put out some kind of money to her. So that was hard to watch. It's very realistic, though. This is 2024. That happens. These big companies with power, they don't think of the little people. They just, and the law firms, they don't care either. The client is the big pharmaceutical companies. They're going to defend them, even though the little person here, or I don't want to say little person, because she's, nobody's better than anybody else. So I apologize. She's not a little person. But the plaintiff, Jessie, the college student, I feel like should have got a settlement, because she did have to suffer. So to that's hard to watch. But in true Matlock form, the last couple minutes of every episode, there's a twist, there's a little cliffhanger, there's a Attago Matlock in every episode. And this one did not disappoint. The end of the episode, you see Julian and Olympia kind of celebrate, Julian being back on the Wellbrexa team because of what Matlock did, and they won. And he admits to Olympia that he had an affair when their marriage was rough and they were separated. And so that's a little heartbreaking for me, because if you watch my videos, I'm Julian's #1 fan. I love Olympia. I love Julian. I wanted them to get together. So I was so happy when they kind of did that in this episode, or at the beginning of last episode. And then, they're celebrating, and Olympia gets up and walks away, and you don't really see what happens after that. But I understand Julian wanting to come clean. I think it was a great decision. Like, look, if we're going to get back together, let's lay everything out on the table. I want to be 100% honest before we jump back into our relationship. So I'm glad he told her. I just think that was hard for Olympia to hear. I hope they can get past it, because they have children and they just seem really good for each other, especially about Senior. I feel like Olympia needed Julian through her cases when she was dealing with Senior, and I feel like she's there for Julian now, since Senior kind of lashed out on his own son, kicked him off the team, then brought him back on the team. And they needed that. They need to kind of be there for each other, for moral support. So I hope they work this out. But like I was mentioning before, the last couple minutes of the show with Matlock, videotaping Senior, getting the password, getting into his computer. Way to go, Matlock. I am so happy to see that she did that, because that's ultimately what she wants. However, when you see the previews for next week, you see they have another conflict with the paperwork, right? They find out the signature on the missing paperwork from Wellbrexa that's involved in her daughter's death was signed by Senior, but then they find out Senior wasn't there when the signature was done and it was a fraud. So now they have to figure out who forged his signature. So it's almost like, wow, now we're going down another rabbit hole. But way to go, Matlock. I mean, just keeping you on a cliffhanger. It makes you want to watch the whole episode, if not just for the last 5 minutes, to see what twist they're going to do with Matlock. And this episode did not disappoint. My heart goes out to Jessie, the college student. And I know that was hard for Matlock, but she has to stay on the case. Her main goal is to find out and get them responsible for her daughter's death. So definitely a great episode. I hope you enjoyed, reviewing and discussing it with me. So until next time, I will see you then. Bye.